I like to think that New Zealand First is a very cool party. We're very much a family. We keep strong personalities, good people, and only surround ourselves with quality human beings. The things that I'm most passionate about changing or improving is education. A lot of the passion that I have comes from growing up in a slightly more rural area initially, going to a rather small school, and then going from there to the smallest secondary school in Invercargill that was also the lowest socio-economic school, so the lowest decile school, and seeing some of the challenges that not only the school faced as an institution, but that a lot of the students faced, and how under-resourced a lot of the things were. Tertiary education was a big thing for me moving into it. Things like student allowance, student loan reform, they were very difficult things to understand, beasts to tackle, and trying to make that process more fair and more simple for students is a big driving factor for me as well. I studied at Otago University doing a Bachelor of Arts in double majoring in political science and sociology with a typical focus on New Zealand politics and foreign policy and kind of social demography in terms of how communities thrive, how communities perform in global changes. So that stuff's always interested me. It's kind of interlinked with the foreign policy aspect. My grandparents immigrated from Europe in the 1950s, not long after World War II, for a fresh start. Our party's message of unity is a value that's always been strong in my family because of that. The messaging that we've got in politics in this country is getting to a point where we're breaking communities and breaking the bond that makes all of us New Zealanders. And we need to get back to being the country that my grandparents immigrated to, a country that welcomes everyone, accepts everyone, and works for everyone. Winston is an unstoppable force. He is undeniably the greatest statesman New Zealand currently has, and has definitely had in the last 70 years. He is such a genuine person. He isn't someone that will have this self-inflated ego or this grand idea of self-importance just because he's the party leader. He treats members like the family that New Zealand First is. He isn't afraid to sit down with the members and joke around and socialise with our party members and our strongest supporters. It's a very traditional way of doing politics, very community-focused politics, which we don't see anymore in New Zealand. New Zealand politics is unfortunately becoming a lot more Americanised, where it's profitable for other political parties to play off the fears and the division that the general public have. Yes, they've all got their niche issues that they hammer down on, and that gives them their base supporters, but they're starting to hone in on the divisive aspects of policy. Instead of fighting for unity for everyone, they're pitting communities against one another in terms of earning a few extra points in a poll. That's one thing that New Zealand First doesn't do. We don't thrive off divisiveness. We thrive on unity because we're all one people. We're all the same country. If you're in New Zealand, you're a New Zealander, and that means we're going to put you first. Since becoming chairman of Young New Zealand First, I've been a champion of student loan reform. Within the party, we've passed several remits within the last year and a half that aim at reforming the approach to student loan, as well as the requirements for things like repayments, eligibility for the student allowance, and additional supplements. So that's an issue that's very close to me, something that affects me in the long term and all of my friends that are still studying. It's something that I look forward to doing a lot more work on. We've made some very positive strides towards some good changes to student loan policy, and quite happy with the progress that we've made so far, and I can't wait to do more. A lot of young people are leaving New Zealand for better work opportunities elsewhere, and that's leading to a huge work shortage in critical areas. A lot of our tertiary education policy is aimed at stopping that by making it more attractive for young people to stay in the country, which is really what the problem is. It's not that they're not earning enough money, it's that living here is not desirable. We're not making it good for our young people to lay down their roots. We're making it difficult to be a young person in New Zealand, and we need to get back to enabling young people to build stronger communities in their local regions so that we have a prosperous country overall. The main difficulty is the general cost of living, housing affordability. We don't make it attractive to stay in New Zealand and continue paying off your student loan. Currently we have hundreds of thousands of dollars in uncollected debts because people leave the country and don't have to pay it back. We've got no enforcement in that area, so it's much more attractive to take off overseas and never pay back your student loan than it is to actually build a life in New Zealand. If I could immediately change anything in terms of student loan policy, it would be making the student allowance universal. That would cut the weekly living loan in half at the current rate that it is. And it would mean that there's less loan for students to pay back after they've finished studying rather than they currently have to pay back. They're facing larger loans because we means test their parents when reality is that most people don't get things from their parents when they're studying, except maybe a pat on the back if they're lucky. I'm Keegan Langeveld. I'm the New Zealand First candidate for Dunedin. Party vote New Zealand First.